Institutional racism is in the DNA of this country. Just look at what they're trying to do in terms of eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion. 250 years plus of enslaving African Americans. Look at our Native Americans, the genocide of Native Americans.
Barbara Lee, the woman who probably should have gotten Dianne Feinstein's seat, the woman who's running for it when it becomes available this year, went on CNN and had some very well put things to say about both institutional and the personal racism that people of color feel in this country on a day-to-day basis. This coming in the wake of Nikki Haley saying America is not a racist country and has never been a racist country, which opened the gates of hell, so to speak, on that argument. And I think Barbara Lee makes some very fine points. So let's cut to what she has to say and then we'll get back into it.
Institutional racism is in the DNA of this country. When you look at what has taken place, look at our Native Americans, the genocide of Native Americans. When you look at what is taking place as it relates to African Americans, the 250 years plus of enslaving African Americans, and then you look at the disparities now in our community in terms of health care, unemployment, the wealth gap, housing. You can't tell me that systemic racism does not exist. It's not just a little kink.
There has been 62,595 members of Congress. 152 of those have been black. That is 0.002%. There's currently 535 members of Congress. 59 are black. That is 11%. This is the most diverse Congress has ever been. 11% black, the most diverse. Housing discrimination didn't fully go away until 1977 when discriminatory credit acts were banned at the federal level. And we've covered at length how people of color are more likely to be sentenced longer for the same crimes as white people, more likely to be killed by cops for in the same crimes, doing the same acts, being unarmed, more likely to be shot unarmed than white people, while being arrested at higher rates for things like marijuana, which they use at the same rates as white people, but let's let her continue.
But systemic racism is in the policies of this country, and just look at what they're trying to do in terms of eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're trying to not allow for an equal and level playing field, and so it's a very dangerous position that she has. She's clueless.
And you still see a lot of this today. Voter suppression was a major issue during Jim Crow, and you still see states right now enacting legislation that disproportionately affects people of color, such as gerrymandering, for instance, or redlining, which people of color were 5 times more likely to be redlined than white families, made people of color with the same household income twice as likely to have lower education, twice as likely to have lower quality housing, twice as likely to have lower quality transportation, and overall lower quality of local jobs. We can look at Flint, Michigan, and the water problem they've been having, where their water source was contaminated with lead to cut costs, or the entire lead epidemic that started in the 90s and went well through the 80s, that both of which disproportionately affected people of color. And then the guttural reaction to things like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is made to remove these barriers that have been placed in front of people of color by the long-standing systemic racism in this country. Something that simply says, out of qualified candidates that you have, be sure to diversify your picks. Of licensed doctors, make sure your entire staff is not white. Make sure your entire staff is not male. Make sure you sprinkle in a little bit of people of color, a little bit of woman here and there. People might benefit from that diversity. And I think that Mark Cuban drives the point home the best by simply showing the hires of Donald Trump, someone who is vehemently against DEI, and surprise, surprise, list full of white guys, a lot of which are now criminals, racist, or openly tried to help overthrow the election in 2020. Great list there. If you enjoyed this video, we are Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video, because the only way we become a society is together.